A vegetarian burrito. Have you been a vegetarian for all your life?
Pretty much, since I'm like about 15 years old or something, yeah.
Do you have a bad experience with meat?
Not particularly. I just read a book by a guy called John Robbins called Diet for a New America when I was about 16 years old. And then decided that I don't want to be part of this whole industry anymore. Went vegan. Then later realized that my love for cheese is larger than my love for animals, and switched back to being vegetarian and being a hypocrite. But yeah, so not a personal bad experience, but I just didn't feel like supporting this and putting this into my body anymore.
I see.
And there's a lot of great choices without meat, so like this.
Absolutely. The Ocean Collective, is that the new name or has it always been? The last I heard you were the Ocean, but now you are the Ocean Collective.
No, actually it's the other way around. We used to be called the Ocean Collective when we started the band. That was because when we started out we had a bit of a revolving door policy for a while. We didn't really have a fixed lineup for a long time. Had lots of changing members and lots of people that were contributing to the band like on albums but were not part of the live band. So that's why this whole collective thing kind of came up. And the website is still under that domain basically, but now we're just called The Ocean. Now the lineup has been fixed for the past 5 years, so everything's been consolidated towards more like a real band setup with the same people. And we still have like the collective still exists. We still have people that are like not part of the band, but still really important for the band. Graphic designers, visual artists, and like studio guest musicians that play on the albums but don't play with us live. So it's still there, but on this tour we're just performing as The Ocean with the 5 people that we are.
Now, is there a German cheese that you're particularly fond of? Or any particular cheese in general?
Not so big on German cheese. I'm more into like Swiss and French cheese and Spanish cheese and well, pretty much any cheese that's not German. Like I really like Italian cheeses too, pecorino, taleggio, this kind of stuff. Then Swiss cheese is to me still the best in the world. Sure. Like a good Gruyere. That's not like what you call Swiss here in America, which is like mass-produced, like
oil
shit cheese.
Right.
Yeah, but like a real Swiss Gruyere is the most awesome cheese in the world.
Yeah, we don't really seem to get the real stuff over here.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like cheese-wise, this like. The main reason why I could not live in this country is that you don't get good cheese. It's all like Swiss or cheddar, but it's always the same, and it's all like prefab, kind of like really boring cheese. And I'm really into strong, like Roquefort and like strong cheeses that are like homemade, and that's very hard to find here. And if you do find it, it's very expensive.
Now this is your 5th release for Metal Blade. You've spent almost, if not all, of your career with that record label.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we did 3 releases before we signed with them. Yeah, but since then we've been with Metal Blade. They've been great. They've been really supportive of the band. The last 3 albums I released on my own label on vinyl format, but we still decided to release the CD and digital versions through Metal Blade, because they have more reach than we do in terms of promotion, have bigger budgets, and they've really done a lot for the band, so I think it was a great choice. But at the same time, the extensive packagings we're doing with our vinyl records and all the box sets and stuff like that, that's something we better do ourselves to really be in control of everything. So it's kind of like a split setup between working with Metal Blade and then doing a lot of stuff ourselves, basically, which has worked out great so far, and I think that's what we want to do in the future too.
2 versions of the new one. The new one is it Pelagial or Pelagial?
Pelagial.
I see. One with vocals and one without. Has there been a big difference sales-wise over one over the other?
No, because they're only sold together. In any format. Like no matter if you buy it on iTunes or if you buy the CD or the vinyl, you always get both versions. something that was very important to us because both versions do stand on their own and are equally important somehow. The album was originally written to be instrumental, and we added vocals fairly late in the process. So we're still very much attached to the instrumental version. And at the same time, I do think the vocals really do add another level to the record, and kind of like, yeah, just add another dimension to it. So it's a matter of preference in the end. We've had people saying they like the instrumental version better. We've had other people saying they love the vocal version. So everyone can listen to whatever they want to listen to. And to me, it's two really different listening experiences. When you listen to the instrumental version, you will hear a lot of things that you won't realize when you listen to the vocal version, although they may be there, because as soon as there's vocals, all your attention is so much like focused on the vocals, because that's just the way we've been raised, that's the way our listening habits are, that we don't pay as much attention to the little details that are in the instrumental parts of the music. So that's why listening to the instrumental version can be quite revealing in a lot of ways. You will hear a lot of things that you won't hear in the vocal version, although they're there, you know. And then like we also approach the mixes in a slightly different way. The instrumental version has some string parts that are not featured on the vocal version because those parts were competing too much with the vocals, so we left them out there. Then other parts have been, you know, set up in a different volume, so it is a bit of a different listening experience. And I think, like, for me personally, both are like equally exciting in their own way, and I would love like to see more bands do that. Like I would love to see all my favorite bands release albums in two formats, like with vocals and instrumental, because you know both has its qualities and its upsides and downsides. So I would just love to have the choice with every record that I own to be able to listen to it as an instrumental version and as a vocal version.
The artwork on the new album, is that who's doing the artwork on the new one? Is it
It was a collaborative effort by Selden Hunt, an Australian guy living in New York, who did all the illustrations for it. The illustrations are basically like a color blending from light blue to black, reflecting this journey from the surface to the bottom of the sea that this album is. And then the limited box sets that we did come with like 5 acrylic layers, one for every pelagial depth zone. And those box sets were designed by Martin Quamme, who's also done our previous album artworks, so heliocentric, anthropocentric, Precambrian, and Fluxion Aeolian too, actually. So it was those two people, and then another guy, like a friend of mine from Berlin, did the booklets. So it's been like all different kinds of people being involved, working on different parts and putting the whole thing together.
You worked with Jens Bogren on production, who's done Monomart among many other great artists in the rock world. It's your first collaboration with him? Mm-hmm. What was it about? What did he do that brought you to him? It was just a matter of he was available and.
Well, we juggled around with a bunch of different ideas with regards to who's going to mix that album. We knew that we didn't want to do it ourselves, like we had done with our previous 2 albums. We wanted to get some external input at the last stage of making the album. And we had a bunch of different ideas. Jens was one of them, and in the end he was the one we chose for different reasons. Communication prior to working with him was very good. Like, he was fast with responding to mails. He took the project seriously. He was very much into it. He offered us a very good deal as well. And to me, he's just like the sound of modern metal, basically, you know. But it's not just that. Like, he's also done the last Witchcraft record, for example. He's known for Amon Amarth and Soilwork and this kind of very clinical sound. We didn't want to sound like that, so I made that clear to him from the beginning. And he was very interested in doing something different, actually. And he's a very versatile sound engineer with very good ears, and I think it was the best choice we ever took. Like, he really captured the sound of this band as it is live, pretty much, on record. And he was very open-minded with regards to how to approach the mix of this album. The whole album was written as one piece of music, basically. So that required a certain approach to the mix, because we wanted to get like a progression of sound as well, starting with a very clean, produced kind of like surface-ish sound, and progressing towards a more ambient, spaced-out sound for the deep sea regions of the record towards the end of the record. And in order to do that, the whole thing had to be mixed in one piece. And when I first approached Jens with that idea, he thought I was crazy, but in the end he was up for it and up for the challenge, and decided to go about doing it that way. And that resulted in the fairly ridiculous amount of tracks, of like 260 tracks that we had to tackle there. So there was a lot of like organizational work that went into it as well, but Jens did a great job with that, and I'm glad we chose to work with him.
Are you familiar with most of the bands on the Summer Slaughter this year?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we toured with Dillinger Escape Plan before in Europe, so we know those guys. They're fucking amazing. One of my favorite bands in heavy music these days. So it's great to play with those guys again.
Sure.
And I know Periphery and Animals as leaders, of course. I know Norma Jean, Cattle Decapitation. I don't know all of the bands playing before us. I know Revocation, they're really cool. But yeah, I'd say I know most of the bands. And it's a very cool package. I mean, we were skeptical at first because we don't consider The Ocean to be a metal band necessarily, and this is a very traditional like death metal tour.
Sure.
So we were like, yeah, are we really going to fit on this tour? But if you look at the lineup, it's not really a death metal lineup anymore this year, and I understand that quite a few people have been complaining about that. For us, that's the reason why we do it. We wouldn't have done it if it was only bands like Cannibal Corpse and Cattle Decapitation, because we'd just be out of place there.
Right.
And we still are somehow, but in a cool way, because like there's more bands that are different and out of place somehow than just us. So I think it's a very exciting package and very diverse, and that's why we chose to do that.
How do you know Brian Shields?
No, Brian. Well, we ended up staying at his place the last time we toured the US. I think it was the Between the Barium and Me tour that we stayed at his place the first time. And he's just been awesome. He let us his place to crash, basically. Smoked us out.
Imagine that, Brian Shields smoking somebody out.
Yeah, he's very good at that. Yeah, it's just been good times, and so this time we hit him up again, and actually very late notice, and he was still down with letting us crash at his place. So actually even came to pick us up at the airport, which was awesome. So Brian's just really fucking cool. Like, the metal scene needs more people like him to take care of bands and touring musicians.
Good man. What's next? What comes after the Summer Slaughter?
We're doing a one-off headlining show in Vancouver. Then we're flying from Seattle to Mexico City, doing a show there. Then we're taking a week off in the Caribbean to just hang out in a hammock, swim, eat burritos like this, smoke weed, and just do nothing else but relax. And then we're flying from Mexico City to Taiwan, from there to Hong Kong, and touring China for about 2 weeks. Wow. And then we're flying from Beijing to Irkutsk in Siberia, and taking the transit back from Irkutsk basically all the way to St. Petersburg in the west of Russia. And that's the last show of the tour on October 1st, I think. And from there we're flying back home. We have 2 days off, then we're doing 2 festivals in Germany and the Netherlands. Prog Power Europe, then Euroblast Festival, and then we have about 3 weeks off, and then we're touring Europe from October 28th until December 1st. So we're pretty much going to be on tour for the whole year.
Wow.
So it's a long ride, yep.